The Sterling Tech headquarters buzzed with the usual morning hum. Executives in sleek suits rushed between elevators and boardrooms, clutching coffees and last-minute reports. Among them, unnoticed as always, was James Rivera, the janitor. He pushed his cart with practiced ease, cleaning up after people who didn't even glance his way. But he didn't mind. He was a quiet man, a single father doing his job with pride. All he ever cared about was his daughter, Zoe. Zoe, just 16, was different. While other kids spent weekends watching videos or scrolling on their phones, Zoe was buried in lines of code. Computers spoke to her. She could see patterns in chaos, fix bugs others couldn't spot, and once rebuilt an old laptop using spare parts from a recycling bin. James didn't understand how she did it, but he admired her for it. He saved every dollar to buy her second-hand textbooks and a used desktop, knowing she was going places. That Wednesday morning started like any other, but halfway through his shift, alarms started blaring on the executive floor. Monitors flashed red, phones rang, people shouted over each other. "The entire system is down." "What do you mean the servers aren't responding? Where are the backups? Are they corrupted too?" James, sweeping near the elevators, heard the chaos. He didn't ask questions, just kept his head down. But when he got home during his lunch break, he mentioned the mess to Zoe, who was on a school break. "They said the system crashed." It sounded serious. Zoe tilted her head. "What kind of system?" "The mainframe, I think. Everything from payroll to client files." Her eyes lit up with interest. "Sounds like a loop error. Maybe a misconfigured restore point?" James chuckled. "That's Greek to me, kiddo." Zoe stood. "Can I come with you after lunch?" "To the office?" "Just for a bit. I want to see if I'm right." James hesitated. The company had strict rules, but technically, Zoe had been there before to drop off lunch. "Okay," he said finally, "but only for a few minutes." Back at the office, the crisis had escalated. CEO Ethan Sterling, usually calm and collected, was pacing like a storm cloud. "If we don't restore the system in the next hour, we'll miss our investment deadline. That's tens of millions down the drain." The IT team looked defeated. They had tried everything: system rollbacks, external backups, even bringing in emergency consultants. Nothing worked. That's when James arrived with Zoe. "Sir," James said cautiously, stepping into the commotion, "I know this isn't the time, but my daughter thinks she might have an idea." Ethan spun around. "Excuse me?" James shifted awkwardly. She's gifted with computers. She might see something the others missed." A senior engineer scoffed. "We've got certified professionals here. No offense, but this isn't high school homework." Zoe stepped forward. "I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, but if your recovery scripts are looping a corrupted log, you're not fixing anything. You're just reloading the same failure point." The room went silent. Another engineer whispered, "Wait, that's exactly what it's doing." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You're saying you can fix this?" "I think I can," she replied, "but I'll need access to the diagnostic shell." There was hesitation. Then Ethan, with nothing left to lose, waved her forward. "Fine, one chance." Zoe sat at a nearby terminal. Her fingers danced across the keys as lines of code streamed by. She worked silently, pulling system logs, inspecting commands, bypassing checkpoints. Within minutes, the monitors stopped flashing red. Systems rebooted. The room was still. "We're back online," someone whispered. Everyone turned to look at the girl in the hoodie and sneakers, who leaned back in the chair with a soft smile. "Told you." Ethan stared at her, astonished. "Who are you?" "She's my daughter," James said quietly. "Zoe." In that moment, everything changed, not just for Zoe, but for everyone who had ever underestimated someone based on how they looked, what they wore, or what title they didn't hold. And for Zoe, this was only the beginning. The day after the system crash and unexpected rescue by 16-year-old Zoe Rivera, the entire building of Sterling Tech buzzed with a new kind of energy. It wasn't panic this time, it was awe. Everyone had heard about the janitor's daughter who fixed what a dozen experts couldn't. Zoe tried to shrug it off, but something had changed. People who used to walk past James without a glance now nodded at him. Some even stopped to thank him for raising such a brilliant daughter. Ethan Sterling, the company's CEO, had not slept much that night, not because of stress, but because he couldn't stop thinking about Zoe, her precision, her confidence, her command of systems. He had never seen anything like it, especially not in someone her age. And she wasn't just brilliant, she was kind. She didn't gloat, didn't ask for anything in return. That humility struck a nerve. So the next morning, Ethan called James into his office. James looked nervous as he entered, cap in hand. "Sir, if this is about yesterday..." Ethan held up a hand. "James, I'm not here to reprimand you. I'm here to thank you. What your daughter did yesterday, it saved us. And not just money. Jobs, contracts, our reputation. We owe her. I owe her." James nodded, unsure of where this was going. "I want to offer Zoe a mentorship," Ethan continued. "Access to our labs, our resources. And when she's ready for college, I'll sponsor her education, fully." James blinked, completely stunned. "Sir, I don't know what to say. That's life-changing." "It's what she deserves," Ethan said, smiling. "You raised an extraordinary young woman." When Zoe heard the news that evening, she was speechless for the first time in a while. "You're serious? I can work in their labs?" "Starting next week," James said, beaming. "You impressed a lot of important people." Zoe couldn't help but laugh. "I just followed the error logs." But it wasn't just the mentorship that changed things. As Zoe started spending time in Sterling's innovation labs after school, she quickly became known as the kid coder, with the talent of a seasoned engineer. The senior developers didn't scoff anymore. Instead, they asked her opinions, invited her into brainstorming sessions, and treated her like one of their own. One afternoon, Ethan invited Zoe into his office. She assumed it was just another progress check, but he had something else in mind. "I've been thinking, Zoe," he began, "about how many kids out there are like you. Smart, driven, but without access. We have the funds, the facilities. What we lack is perspective. Your perspective." Zoe tilted her head. "What are you saying?" "I want to create a youth program," Ethan said. "A mentorship and training initiative for talented kids who don't have the connections or the means to pursue tech. I want you to help design it." Zoe's eyes lit up. "You mean like create the curriculum?" "Yes, and help us find the right candidates. Who better than someone who lived it?" Zoe nodded slowly, her heart racing. "I'd love that." Meanwhile, James continued working his janitor shifts, though now he wore a quiet smile that didn't fade. People asked why he didn't quit, now that his daughter was clearly headed for something big. But he always answered the same way. "This job helped me raise her. It kept food on the table. There's honor in that." Months passed. Zoe's story spread beyond the company. A local news station did a feature on her, then a national one. Soon, tech magazines were calling her a prodigy. But through it all, she remained grounded. She still helped her dad with groceries, still coded late into the night, still walked into Sterling's labs with the same wonder she had that first day. And the best part? That youth program she and Ethan built, the Future Fixers Initiative, launched a year later with scholarships, real-world projects, and mentorships across the country. Dozens of kids from low-income families were given a chance, just like Zoe had. What began as a system crash became a chain reaction of opportunity, compassion, and belief in potential. Zoe once said, "All I needed was someone to give me a chance." Now she was making sure that chance was never hard to find again.